I'm gonna let you in on a secret in this episode. You don't have to sacrifice your social life to succeed and thrive academically. I don't know who created this perception that you can't have both, but this episode has the key. So if you want to learn how to level up your life and unlock the hottest, highest, healthiest version of yourself, this is the podcast for you. Welcome to today's episode of Hot and Unbothered. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to my podcast. If you are new here, my name is Brianna Gomez, or you can call me Bri, and this is today's episode of Hot and Unbothered, guys. I am so happy you're here. This one is one that you guys have been waiting for, especially for the back-to-school season and after our last back-to-school episode. I had an episode idea about how to become an academic weapon because in our last back-to-school episode, it did include some academic study tips, but I couldn't fit all of them in one How to Be an It Girl for back-to-school episode. So if you haven't heard that one, make sure you go listen to it. Even if it's not back to school season, even if you're not in school anymore, it does apply, guys. It is very versatile. But a lot of people get the wrong idea that if they are succeeding and thriving academically, it's because they had to sacrifice their own social life, happiness, any enjoyment outside of school. They have to give it up, which is so far from the truth. Yet you see so many people suffering in their school year because they are slaving away for their grades and for their studies, which, yes, it is so important to take advantage of your education, focus, be productive, and really make the most of it. But at the same time, school is also to make memories and connect with other people and to just experience life at the age and grade that you are in. And you need both in order to form into the best version of yourself during these years. You can't ignore one or the other. Academics and social life, they are both important. So today I'm going to be telling you guys how to succeed in both. Academically, yes, be an academic weapon without sacrificing or jeopardizing your own social life and sanity, to be honest. And to anyone who feels so overwhelmed, like they can't find a balance with maybe their extracurriculars, their friend group, their job, their studies, all these classes that they're taking, I know exactly how you feel. When I was in high school, I was doing cheer, I was taking AP classes, I had a job at Brandy Melville that I would go to after school, I was trying to do TikTok, I was doing so many things at once, and it can feel like you're losing your mind. I was also in a relationship, and I also was trying to hang out with my friends at the same time, and if you don't allot your time strategically, you will crash and burn and lose your mind. And so, speaking as someone who has been there, I'm going to teach you how to avoid that at all costs, quite literally. So I have some very exciting tips lined up for you guys, but before we dive in, you guys know I love to share a podcast review. Today we have one from Anna. They said, "Hi, Bri, I'm Anna." Wait, that's so funny because Bri and Anna make Brianna. "I just turned 12 and this is the first video I've watched on your channel. It's amazing. It's already changed so much of my life and it's not even been a week. You've been such an inspiration to me. I'm so happy to know you and I've already recommended your podcast to all my friends. Thank you so much for helping me so much. But I have a question. Usually when I start school, I feel really motivated, but after a while I lose that motivation. How can I keep it? Big hug. Love you so much, Anna, and I absolutely adore that you've been sharing the podcast with your friends, guys. I think that's what a good friend does, is when they come across something that helps them and has motivated them, they send it to their friends. So go ahead and take a second. I will wait for you guys to send this to a few of your besties who you want to see succeed and find this school social life balance, because it's so important, and people who don't have the right perspective going into the school year, that's usually how you get burnt out and you don't enjoy it anymore. So it's super important, guys. But that's such a great question, Anna. I would say it's super important to follow a steady routine and also romanticize the school year, which we do a lot in our last back to school episode, and we will in this episode as well. Even things like studying really hard for a test or working on a group project, those are things that can actually be romanticized and enjoyed if you switch your perspective and you allot the certain amount of time so that you do create a healthy balance for yourself between your social life, any fun extracurriculars or things with your friends going on, and then your academic life. And having both and creating a balance instead of feeling like you're stretching yourself so thin, that will be so key and so helpful to maintaining your motivation all throughout the school year, not just at the beginning. Don't forget to follow the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and leave a review for the chance to be featured in next week's episode. And also don't forget you can shop my sustainable clothing line, which It has some stuff that is perfect for back to school, guys, all size inclusive. There's super cute flared leggings, little camis with built-in bras that would be so cute with a little cardigan or something. It's all sustainably handmade to order and designed by yours truly. There's different colors. You can get tall, petite versions. They're really, really cute, and it would mean the world to me if you guys supported. All right, guys, number one tip, I need to make sure you have the right perspective and mindset behind being an academic weapon. Being an academic weapon does not mean stress, and I remember in school there would be that kid that's so stressed out. Like, they are notorious for never having fun, never doing anything. Yes, they may have a 4.0 and above GPA, but they're never enjoying themselves, and they're always so high strung, which if that's you, no worries, and I'm not making fun of anyone, but you owe it to yourself, especially after all of that hard work and studies. You owe it to yourself to have some fun and enjoyment in your life. And let me tell you guys, in many situations, yes, grades are so important and they can be really impressive to colleges or schools, but at the same time, school and grades are not everything. One day you're going to graduate, and the GPA that you have or the A++ that you got on that test is not going to be as relevant as the people and the connections that you made along the way, as well as the experiences that teach you so many life lessons. Both are equally important, because at the same time, if you're just off partying and living in la la land, and then it comes time to apply for a college or a job, you're equally going to be like, okay, maybe I should have done things a bit differently. So there's a common misconception on both ends. Yes, school is important. School doesn't not matter, but at the same time, it isn't your entire identity. It's just an extra tool in your glow up kit, in your life lesson kit. An adventure. But we are here today to break the misconception that in order to be performing well in school, you have to give up everything enjoyable in life, and at the same time, in order to have a super strong, fulfilling social life, you don't need to give up your academic success. A huge thing to understand is that confidence in the classroom spills into your social life and your personal life at the same time. So when you are succeeding and when you are doing well and you're studying and you're super on top of it, that translates into social confidence as well. I personally noticed so many times, guys, throughout my school experience, I was a criminal procrastinator. It was so bad, chronic procrastination on my end, and it did make me very awkward. Like, I had so many awkward interactions with people because I was too stressed out or focused on the work that I was trying to get done. And I handled school very weirdly. It's like I performed well, but I didn't do it in a way that was sustainable for me, and I didn't do it in a way that was enjoyable for me or my social life or my mental health. And my teachers definitely did not love it either. Because although I would get the work done, I would come to school some days and I would be trying to scribble in the lines in between classes or on lunch, and I couldn't enjoy myself. So procrastination is the number one topic that I want to talk about today, because it's so crucial when it comes to finding that balance between school and social life. And the best way to avoid chronic procrastination is through self-discipline and time management, you guys. If you don't have a set routine, I highly suggest that you make even just a morning and night routine for school specifically. I suggest not leaving any homework or studying for the morning of. Maybe if it's like a test day, you can look through some flashcards while you're eating your breakfast. But other than that, no cramming before school. Oftentimes when you say, okay, I'm so tired, I'm just going to wake up an hour earlier so that I can get the work done before school. Regret. And the reason why I procrastinated so badly is because I had no self-discipline and a complete lack of judgment when it came to deciding what social activities I was going to participate in, especially before getting my schoolwork done. And again, let me remind you that by no means is this episode about cutting out social activities. It's about enhancing them and finding ways to be more present in the moment at those social situations by managing your time for your schoolwork so you're not stretching yourself too thin. So create a set routine from the moment you get back from school, and it doesn't have to be immediately. You get home, you get through the door, sit back down and open your books. I completely understand that homework and the school day in general is so so draining mentally and socially, firing on all cylinders. So take a break, unload, get your snacks, read a good book, take a nap if you want, but create a set time, because my fatal flaw was I would go and I would hang out with friends, and then I would go home and then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna unwind, de-stress for a little bit before I start my schoolwork, but I didn't have a set time of when I would start my schoolwork. So then next thing you know, you've been doom scrolling on TikTok and it's 10 p.m. and you need to get ready for bed. When in reality, probably the smartest thing would be to do my work and then go hang out with my friends, so then I can totally unwind and decompress before going to sleep. But I oftentimes did the opposite. So I think that the concept of work hard, play hard totally applies here. So yes, you should be enjoying yourself, especially during these times in your life where you're making so many memories and new experiences and trying new things. But at the same time, you should do the work beforehand. And that's just rule of thumb. I know for some people this is a no-brainer, but for me, who I love my social life, for all my little social butterflies out there, or even my procrastinators, or people who love to scroll or watch their favorite shows, I find that it's so much easier personally if I get the hard stuff out of the way first, so then I have the whole rest of my night or my week or my weekend to actually enjoy myself. Because when you procrastinate, it's like there's a little annoying thing in the back of your head kind of blaring like an alarm, and you are trying so hard to ignore it so that you can have a fun time, enjoy your social activities or your weekend or your bed rotting, when in reality there's no ignoring the elephant in the room. You have a lot of stuff to get done, and the more time that you let pass, the bigger of a problem that it's going to get and the more stressful it is, but then hence the more you want to ignore it. So how are we going to manage our time? Number one, getting a planner is huge for me. I love having a planner so much, even a calendar if that helps for you, but writing down all of your assignments, you can put them in your phone. There's so many different Notion platforms or reminder apps that you can set so you don't forget, or you can just trust yourself to check your planner every single day. But there's always that one person who's like, I don't need a planner, I can keep it all in my head. And then next thing you know, the teacher's like, okay, everyone, test today. I hope you're all prepared. And you're like, test? Because you didn't write it down. So that is something that I personally find so helpful and effective. Again, putting it in your phone. I said this once, I'll say it 1,000 times. I love the checkbox method, or crossing things off, because the more things that you check off, the more inclined you are to want to check everything off the list, and the more you want to get done. It's like a little reward gratification system in our brains where we get to check something off. It's like a little serotonin release. So what I've always loved doing is writing, yes, my school assignments that I have due, but I would even write other stuff. If I'm going to work, I would write the times I'm going to work after school. If I'm cooking, if I'm cleaning my room, I would write that. So then even when I'm going to look at my assignments, I'm also seeing the other wellness, mental health, self-care things that I have planned for myself. And that's equally as important as homework, some may argue. Some more anti-procrastination hacks can be to really break things down into micro habits, which I know for some people, if your homework is to read 2 chapters of a book, that can sound like a lot of work. But when in your mind, if you break it down, for example, maybe your assignment is to read 2 chapters by the end of the week. Well, instead of waiting and leaving those 2 chapters for the very end of the week, challenge yourself just to read 5 pages every night throughout the week before bed, or 5 in the morning, things like that, 5 on your lunch, just to spread it out. It makes it so much easier, and your brain actually retains information so much better when you spread it out over a span of time, opposed to cramming at the last second, guys. There's one thing I've learned, and I wish I could save myself from. It is cramming and saving things for the last second. It never works. Whatever it is you think you can get done at the last second and save for later, you almost never can. And even if you can, you won't benefit in the same ways from it, because your brain does not retain the same amount of information at the last second opposed to ahead of time. And that's why it's so important to be studying and then sleeping, just doing everything over a periodic time, well evened out, instead of cramming at the last second, because your brain needs to rest and rejuvenate in order to retain information. Another method for anti-procrastination is time blocking. So if you really are dying to go on your phone, right? Challenge yourself, okay, I'm going to do my homework for 45 minutes and then phone time for 15 minutes, and set timers so that you are on it, and you guys just have to be disciplined with yourselves. I feel like when you are getting older, right, and you're not a little kid anymore, you feel like any concept of discipline or self-control, you want to throw it out the window because you don't want to feel like your own mother almost being like, okay, only 45 minutes of this and 15 minutes of phone time. But in reality, that structure is so necessary, at least for me personally. Sometimes you have to parent yourself because we are impulsive creatures. We get distracted easily. We fall into our old habits very easily. So sometimes you do have to be strict with yourself, and that's not a bad thing. And over time, when you see that it's actually beneficial for you, you will want to continue acting that way. And of course, using social time as motivation is huge. For example, I will finish this assignment and then I will go hang out with my friends. I will finish this chapter and then I will FaceTime my bestie. And you will find 100 times out of 10, you guys, that when you get to whatever function you are at, you will be so relieved and happy with yourself that you didn't leave the assignment to have to do after. You know how terrible it is if you go and you have a fun day with your friends and then you come home and you're like, wait, I have to do my homework, and you're so drained and you just want to look at all the cute Instagram pictures that you took and you want to have your everything shower and curl up in bed with your favorite show and your favorite dinner, but no, you have an assignment due. That is the worst feeling. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to want to do the assignment. So if you use that social time as motivation for yourself, not only are you helping by prioritizing your academics, but also you will be able to be more present and super happy and relieved while you are in the moment. Because there's been so many times, maybe I will go out with my friends when I have an assignment due later, but I can't fully enjoy myself because, again, in the back of my head, I can't ignore the fact that I have an assignment due later. Trust me, you will be thanking me and thanking yourself if you just get it out of the way. Have you ever once in your life heard someone, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I saved this for the last second. I'm so glad I weren't more prepared and didn't get this out of the way ahead of time before it was too late. You've never heard anyone say that, have you? Because no one's ever been glad that they procrastinated. And again, do you hear me clearly? I'm not saying don't go to these social outings. I'm saying prioritize your time and spread out your work so that way you are able to be present and enjoy yourself when you have these social outings and you won't be dreading doing your assignment afterward the whole time. All right, so how do we study like an it girl? Number one, color coding. Color coding is so huge, you guys. Just taking super organized notes in general. Maybe you like to type them, maybe you like to write them. And a huge recommendation that I have, guys, getting a journal that you love. It sounds so simple. Honestly, investing in school supplies in general, and I know there's the whole pink tax where when you want cute school supplies or office supplies, sometimes it costs more. So there are plenty of DIYs that you guys can look up or I will remind you of so that way you can make your school supplies adorable. Even just putting little washi tape on your binder or on your pens or adding a ribbon to your backpack or your pencil pouch. Just little things like that really make a huge difference. You are supposed to romanticize studying. So I've said this in my It Girl Back to School video, I believe, but instead of being like, oh, I have to study and I have to coop up in my room and hate my life for 3 hours, instead be like, oh my gosh, no, I am Legally Blonde Elle. I am Rory Gilmore. I am Blair Waldorf. You guys don't notice it, but there are so many academic divas who are so intelligent and they are so dedicated to both their schoolwork and their social life. And when you have your study sessions, make sure you are romanticizing them. Go to a cute coffee shop, study outside, maybe even picnic style with a cute little blanket. Make study dates with yourself. Treat yourself to your favorite snack. Put on classical music, guys. Classical music has actually been proven to help you retain information when you are studying. So finding a good study playlist with no lyrics or distractions in the background is crucial. Also, personally for me, honestly, putting a show or anything on in the background has been a proven distraction, so I try not to do any of that either until afterwards. The show or the social media afterwards, that's the reward. But multitasking in some forms when it comes to studying especially and really locking in is not always the most effective. But you can romanticize it so much. Again, if you are at a little coffee shop or a cafe or even like beach view, depending on where you live, and just bring your school supplies, bring your headphones, lock in, you are not a weird nerd bookworm. You are now officially that mysterious it girl with her latte in the corner, and everyone's like, wow, she must be really on her Zoom. I was talking to one of my friends about this episode and the tips in general, and she said one of her biggest pieces of advice is to utilize the library, and that she wishes she took advantage of it more because, one, you cannot get distracted in the library. You just can't. I'm sorry. Someplace where it's quiet and everyone else is working, and then you are instantly motivated by everyone else around you because they are all locked in, studying, so focused. Even if you walk in and you're not focused, it's almost like you are forced to fake it until you make it because everyone else is focusing too, so you now have to. We truly are products of our environment. So if you are in a room with loud music and shows playing and your phone on and so many distractions, of course you are not going to be as focused as when you are on a library and everyone else is diligently doing their work and they're so focused. Intellectual baddies. And on the topic of fake it till you make it, I just want to specify that succeeding in school has nothing to do with your IQ level or who's smarter than who. It truly is about the effort, the commitment, and the self-discipline that you are willing to put into it. I'm a pretty firm believer that anyone can do well in school if they want to. You have to truly want to focus, succeed, and get the most out of your education. And if you manage your time and you manage your priorities, you will succeed. So I think fake it till you make it is a great piece of advice for this, honestly. But create a strong study environment. So on top of this, if you are going to be studying or doing schoolwork at home, make sure that you guys are organized. I think having a beginning or mid-week reset is so effective because I know personally, and this was my fatal flaw throughout school, is I could never really focus or hone in when my space was messy. When you are surrounded by clutter, it can get really hard to focus. So having allotted time to just make sure, especially wherever your study area is, maybe it's the floor, and some people love studying on the floor. I did homework on the floor for a while and I made comfy pillows and fairy lights and blankets and a little rug, and I honestly enjoyed it for a while. Whatever your study area is, make sure it's clear, make sure it's clean, make sure it's organized. You can put little motivational notes, light a cute candle, get a warm cup of tea or coffee with you, and really just romanticize the experience and be present in the moment, and also recognize the fact that not everyone gets this experience. Not everyone gets this access to education. So something that I always look back on is I wish that I were more present and I wish that I were more appreciative of my time at school, because sometimes things will come up relevant in today's life, whether it's politics, whether it's religion, whether it's geography of any kind, math, English, anything will come up. And I'm like, you know what? I remember learning about this in school, but I didn't really hone in on it, and I wish that I paid more attention and was more intentional with my time at school. Another great technique for productive studying is the Pomodoro technique, which is essentially setting a 25-minute timer for whatever task you are focusing on and lock in for those 25 minutes. And I mean phone on do not disturb, headphones on, not checking, not even changing the song, like locked in. And then once the timer goes off, then you give yourself a short 5-minute break, and then after those 5 minutes, you go back to your 25-minute timer and back to your task. So in those 5 minutes, you could take a short walk or jog, you can check your phone, you can stretch, you can grab water. Personally, for me, I can't scroll typically without getting distracted. So for me, I know myself, and that's another thing, is just knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits and what works for you, because what works for some people may not work for others, and something I know does not work for me is scrolling in the middle of focus time. I just can't do it. I will end up scrolling for hours. But why this works is because the timer creates urgency, obviously, and humans, we also love a little challenge. I feel like it's almost a challenge, and that really works for me. Even when I'm cleaning, if I set a timer, I will get it done. But the frequent breaks keeps your brain more fresh, more relaxed, and it also is training your focus as if it's a muscle. So this way, you learn how to stop multitasking and you actually finish things in an allotted amount of time. And in turn, you are almost more rewarded and you feel more motivated because you know you can get things done. Learning your learning style is huge. I, in middle school, had to take a quiz on this, but there's kinesthetic learners, which is when you are using your hands to really learn, and demonstrations. This is why models and certain things work, just hands-on activities. That's my learning style, and you'll notice I talk with my hands a lot, but I mean step by step, acting out the examples physically with your hands. There's visual learners, and then there's audible. So discovering your learning style can be so beneficial in knowing how you should be studying or learning that will be most beneficial to you. Maybe if you are an audio-based person, then listening to audiobooks or saying things out loud, that can be really helpful for you. If you are visual, again, drawing out graphs, diagrams, there are so many different ways to focus on what your preferred learning style is and turn it into something that will be so transformative for the way that you learn. On top of staying organized, guys, of course, like I said, your body needs rest to retain. In all my fitness and wellness-based videos, you will notice that I really stress how important rest, recovery, and sleep is because your body needs sleep and rest in order to recover. Well, think of your brain as a muscle, and when you are learning, you are training your brain, you are working it out, you're working out that muscle, and it will not retain this information unless you sleep, guys. Sleep. It's so much better to sleep before a test instead of cramming at the last second because your performance will be so much worse if you are sleep deprived. And take it from literally probably the most sleep deprived girl out of my entire school. It's just bad. And if you want to be that girl this school year, you don't want to be the girl that's showing up so exhausted, running late, unprepared for the test, unprepared with her assignment. It's just not good. Also, moving your body is so crucial. Working out will help increase your focus. It will raise your mood and your energy levels. This is so important as well, especially if you are sitting at a desk studying all day. You need to get those jitters out somehow. Also, with the food that you eat, guys, being hydrated, crucial, and then just overall getting your nutrients, getting your full meals in. No one can focus or study on an empty stomach. You cannot have a clear mind when you are exhausted and when you are hungry. Those are just the facts. Now, how are we going to incorporate our social life into our academic life? Because like I said, it's all about balance. Number one is whoever said you have to choose one or the other. Yes, alone one-on-one study time is huge, but creating study groups or having a study buddy is so fun, you guys. And it's almost like having a workout buddy. You have that accountability aspect, and maybe it's not every single day, but maybe you have a friend or a group that you get together. This could be people from your friend group, or it could be people from a class that you have in common, maybe friends you made in this certain class for this certain subject, and you guys get together maybe at a coffee shop, maybe at someone's house, and you guys can all study together. You can quiz each other, you can tutor each other. It's so helpful, and this will also help, one, strengthen your knowledge, but also strengthen your relationships with these people and flex both that academic and social muscle that needs to be worked. Even if you don't have classes in common with someone, maybe you guys are really able to maintain that dynamic of working together, but also in silence and focusing. And maybe you guys can even do the Pomodoro technique together. 25 minutes lock in, 5 minutes little chat catch up. But this really does help with accountability because, again, when you are working next to someone in the same way as in the library and you see them getting their work done and the accomplishment of their completion of their work, it makes you want to do the same. And it's like you don't want that person to finish their homework before you because then you're going to be left behind and the only one working on your schoolwork still. So in turn, it really does make you lock in and focus and get the work done. Maybe you don't study well with other people, but you can incorporate other fun things that are still beneficial to you. Taking fun cooking classes, working out together, going on hikes together. These things are all so good for your overall well-being. And being a person who prioritizes their entire mental health, well-being, and wellness journey will do nothing but benefit you mentally, academically, socially, and physically. It's also so crucial to know boundaries, you guys. I have a whole episode actually on people pleasing and saying no because it's such an epidemic in this world. But knowing your boundaries, knowing lines that you can't cross. For example, if you have a huge presentation tomorrow and your friend asks you if you want to go hang out for a few hours on a school night, maybe that's not the best idea, and it's okay to say no, because friends who are genuine good influences and even who genuinely care about you, they will want to see you succeed, and they will understand your goals and your boundaries and not try to push them. Maybe I should do an entire episode on FOMO, fear of missing out, so let me know if you guys would want to hear that. But you do have to learn how to kind of swallow your pride, learn how to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything. I was so bad in high school. I would say yes to things that I didn't even want to go to just because I didn't want the fear of missing out. And then it's like you end up somewhere where you don't even want to be, and you're like, oh, there's stuff that I actually could be getting done right now to benefit me and my education. So learn how to say yes to fun when it's something that will be truly enjoyable and fulfilling to you, but also say no when it comes to drawing that line, protecting your peace, and creating your balance. If something is going to disrupt this balance or this plan, yes, it's okay to be spontaneous sometimes, but at the same time, if it's important, your friends will understand, and there will be plenty of more social opportunities, events, hangouts, whatever it may be. I promise, anything that I was upset about missing out on when I was in school, I do not think about it once. But utilizing your social circle, yes, in ways that makes you happy and increases your mood, but also in ways that they will help keep you accountable and be a great support system. Those are your real friends. So I know that self-discipline and anti-procrastination and focusing on your studies can be really, really hard for some of us, but the fact that you're even listening to this episode right now is really, really exciting, and you should be so incredibly proud of yourself. I know self-discipline may not sound fun, but it actually translates into self-respect, because when you see that girl and she is on top of her schoolwork and she's on top of her social groups and she's so well-rounded, level-headed, balanced when it comes to this work-life school dynamic, you know she's that girl, and you know that she respects herself, she respects her time, she's confident, and she takes care of herself. Both academic and social discipline is the foundation that your career, that your future relationships, that your financial freedom, that your independence will be built off of. So it's super important, even if you're young, to start creating these healthy habits now. There are habits that I implemented maybe when I was even in 8th grade that then haunted me throughout high school. So make sure that even if the actual grade itself doesn't matter for your college or high school transcripts, it's still important to flex those healthy habit muscles and create strong, lasting tendencies now so that you can protect your work ethic in the future. Trust me, it's so worth it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you drop a follow. Don't forget to rate the podcast 5 stars on Spotify and leave a review for the chance to be featured in next week's episode. I have our bestie community that you guys can join. It's an exclusive members-only community. We do weekly one-on-one calls, we do group calls, group chats, article posts, so I will leave that linked for you guys as well. Follow me on all my socials at Brianna Gomez with 2 B's on Instagram, TikTok, add me on Snapchat, Pinterest. I have it all. Also follow at Hot Unbothered for the podcast, Instagram, and TikTok. Of course, remember that you can shop my sustainable clothing line, and we're going to be diving into fall episodes, so make sure you guys leave fall episode requests. I'm so excited. I love you guys all from the very bottom of my heart, and I will see you next Bri-day. Bye. Mwah.